please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome to Commodity Champions, your weekly dose of what's brewing in the commodity space. I'm Manisha Gupta. Well, there is plenty that has been happening in the agriculture space. Remember, we are in the middle of the government actually formulating a plan or a regulation on what the MSP would be, how it would be procured. In the meanwhile, the government, of course, has been advising farmers to go high in case of fruits and vegetables as another source of income there. Well, India actually is the second biggest producer of fruits and vegetables as it comes. And if you look at the production numbers, we have record highs back to back for last couple of numbers. But even having said that, the imports into India for various fruits and vegetables also has been growing as our taste for exotic and organic fruit continues there. Joining us to talk more about that is Michael Taylor. He is VP Sales and Marketing at Stemilt Growers. Mike, hi. It's good to have you in the Mumbai studios here. Welcome.
Thank you, Manisha. It's a pleasure to be here. Absolutely.
What is your sense when you look at the Indian markets? I mean, you have been exporting into Indian markets for a very long time, a decade now. What really has changed in all of these years?
Oh, my goodness. So we actually started sending apples to India in 1999, but the past 10 years, we partnered with IG and we've seen our sales really grow. So when we look at this current season, right now we're looking at a double over last year's volume. So when you think about that in terms of volume, that's 16,000 metric tons so far season to date. And we really feel like before the season ends for the apples, for Stemilt apples, we will exceed 30,000 tons. And that's remarkable to think about as we look forward to next year and maybe the next 3 to 5 years, we feel we could double our volume again. The exciting thing about that is that we're getting more and more flavors to the Indian consumer today.
So, Mike, you know, of course, apples is the top, priority, top on the list when it comes for you. What really has been the growth number when it comes to India? How have you seen acceptance into Indian markets for Stemilt apples?
Fantastic acceptance. And so when you look at it, we've seen India become our #1 volume market. Well, offshore market, we count Mexico, in North America as our largest volume, but our biggest offshore market is India, and that has just been tremendous.
What other fruits are you looking to introduce into India? I understand you already are doing apples and cherries, etc. What is the pecking order really there?
For us, it's apples first. Apples first. The Indian consumers are really strong on apples, and organic apples are growing fast. So a third of our production volume is in organic, and you will see in the next couple of seasons a lot more Stemilt organic in the Indian marketplace. On top of that, we're a large producer of fresh pears, and that season runs for us through the middle of winter, so we'll continue to develop our pear markets. And we're coming up on the upcoming summer sweet cherry market, and very excited about seeing a lot of growth there, both organic cherries and conventionally.
Well, if you look at the data after bananas, apple perhaps is the second largest consumed fruit in the Indian markets, and you clearly have had a handle onto that one. But Mike, also tell us on what really does an Indian consumer like? Is there price sensitivity there? Have you seen a certain brand that does well for Indian markets? How have you been strategizing it?
So we've obviously been shipping lots of Red Delicious. The Indian consumer loves Reds. That's the #1 volume item. But we're developing new flavors. If you think about India, there's many different demographic sections of the country and different opportunities. So we're broadening that expansion of varieties to include varieties like Pink Lady and Fuji and Granny Smith, and we're doing a new launch on an apple called Pinata that you'll see in the supermarkets and all the markets here in the future.
You know, Mike, as we were just discussing, you have been around for 10 years now for the Indian markets. What really has changed? Have you seen the basket change? Have you seen the consumption pattern change for India? What really has worked for Stemilt as an exporter?
Well, I think the most exciting thing that we see is a young population in India, and they really respond well to apples. Apples are extremely important.
More health conscious, perhaps?
Health conscious. We want to get people out of processed foods and into fresh. And we're seeing an advancement in the supply chain, so better refrigeration and better distribution.
Sure.
And we're able to access that with our Indian partner, IG.
How has the IG and Stemilt partnership really worked? I mean, you have been together for all of these years as well. How is it that you guys complement each other?
IG is our family in India. We really feel that way, and we have the same shared values and the same dedication to quality and service, and we just grow closer and closer together all the time. We can grow and pack all the fruit, but if we haven't got a good Indian partner to get that fruit to market, it's really for naught.
What have been your experience with the new government, really? Because a lot of reforms, policies, etc., have changed, etc. Have you seen a change impact you in a good or a bad way?
The change that we see is just more reception to American business, and we really feel like the Indian people welcome us here, and we feel embraced and grateful for that. We do have a bit of a tariff coming in here, and we always hope that between our governments we can maybe reduce that a little bit, but we're not complaining either, as we are seeing wide growth.
And while, of course, India is one of the growing markets, as you have said, Mike, but what are the other markets that the Stemilt is looking at right now where you see growth coming in?
Our biggest growth market that we see outside of the United States, we're continuing to develop our brands there, but we're working aggressively in Mexico, and Mexico's seeing more advancements in retail. We're doing business all over Asia. We're in China and the Pacific Rim, but we really love India.
Mike, also, we've of course talked about fruits here. With the India increasing its production as well, do you see a competition coming in from the domestic markets itself into your imports? The most important thing we can do is raise the quality of all apples. So we're for the Indian apple grower as well as ourselves. And I think the biggest thing that we need to do is deliver that consumer satisfaction from any apple experience, and that lifts us all. And so I can see us collaborating with Indian growers on horticultural techniques and storage and handling in the future to just make apples better. Mike, also, the Indian government push towards farming, of course, has increased in the recent few days with the elections as well coming in. There is a lot of push on giving better remuneration to farmers, etc. And there is advice to farmers to grow more fruits and vegetables. As it sells faster, there is a lower shelf life and the prices are high. How would you work in that scenario with the Indian markets? So
when you think about trying to reduce cost or increase enumeration back to the farm, the best way to do it is through efficiencies, right? So we want to embrace the advent of technology, higher yields, better irrigation, better techniques for storage, reduce waste. Food waste is tragic. We don't want to see it. So we want to share best practices on how to drive efficiency.
Well, absolutely. That is something that the Indians perhaps absolutely could learn from all of that. What is your sense, Mike, when it comes to the input cost? Because that is something India really seems to be, hard facing right now. Because while, of course, remuneration is one part of it, but it really is the input cost where India hasn't been able to cut corners there. What is your advice on that?
In apples, the direct labor expense is really the highest input cost. So we need to work on that. We also need to work on just the supply chain and the infrastructure of expediting the fruit in good condition to the market and reducing waste.
Another thing I want to also talk to you is about the technology part of it. While, of course, the online sales or, the government is trying to connect Mandi on technology via the computer. We also have an ENAM coming in where various producing and the trading centers are being brought on the same table. Is that something that has worked for you as Stemilt? Do you think that is something that brings markets together?
Oh, absolutely, and it's going to grow fast. You look at the population base in India, and the amount of smartphones here is staggering. So I was talking with some online retailers, and they feel like they can get an order distributed from a smartphone to many places in Mumbai within 3 hours. And to think about that instant access to fresh, wholesome, juicy apples is remarkable. So we are partnering through IG with some online providers and excited about the Omnichannel.
A final few questions then, Mike. And what is your sense on growth from here on for India and for the rest of your consumer countries as well?
So our company's rapidly expanding. We're going to see significant growth in the next few years. We've got a lot of young trees in the ground, a lot of exciting flavors. If we do the 30,000 metric tons to India this year, I really feel like in 3 years we will double that number, and within 5 years we could double it again. It's really all about getting the consumer a successful experience and getting them to buy again and again. And I think the broadening of our assortment of flavors is going to help us expand this market. And I also feel that the young people of India are going to really respond in a favorable way to our organic apple production.
All right, that's cheers to healthy outlook then. Mike, thank you so much for joining us in Mumbai studios and spending time with us.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. And I just want to say the Indian people have been so gracious and so warm. It's my first time here, and I will be back. Thank you, India.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, this week clearly belongs to what happened in metals as a space, whereby on one side we were reacting to what happened in Rizal, zinc was reacting to the inventory buildup, and then of course there has been positive data from all over in sense of manufacturing, and that supported the other metals as well. We caught up with Anil Agarwal earlier this week and listened on to what he had to say on the global commodity picture, oil and metal and prices and much more. I want to start on a specific commodity by commodity now, and I want to start with zinc first. The production in India has been much higher this time around. It really has been your blue-eyed baby, if I may call that. So what is the sense there? Because it's not just in India. You have zinc projects outside India as well. How has the cost of production been? How has the volume been? And are we on target when you talk about 2019-20 targets for zinc production?
No, I'm on. Zinc is very difficult to find all over the world. Either the zinc minings are shutting down, no new mines being open, and what has happened that
it's an underinvested sector, you've been saying.
Plus, because the trend is nobody want to use the naked steel, so everybody want to protect the steel. So the whole trend is even on the automobile, the galvanized sheet being used. So anywhere, it used to be 20–30% galvanized. Now it is going almost 60–70–80%.
Are we seeing those numbers in India as well? Is there an increase? Is there an awareness enough?
It's increasing, but because people want to still want to use the cheap, so they don't encourage. But longer term, there's a big benefit.
Sure.
And we are advocating all the time to use galvanized steel. So there are major 3 or 4 players in the world. So this looks good, and commodity is commodity. I won't say I'm bullish, but I'm going to. We also exploration very difficult to enhance our deposit. We are working very hard, but naturally that some of the areas what we have has a potential. So our cost being good, I think by and large lowest cost in the world, and we are increasing our production 6 to 7 to 10%. That's how we are looking. So zinc looks good, and we produce silver. Silver is also very.
I was coming to that. Yes.
Silver we produce about 1,000.
That number has been increasing year on year as well.
Yeah, so we produce 95% of the silver of the. This Vedanta is the. I'm looking more Vedanta to come in India. You need 10 Vedanta to come in India. Everybody say, I don't want competition. I want competition. I'm saying all entrepreneur. I'm saying all my the BHP, Rio, Anglo, Exxon, everybody that come to this government, you will not be disappointed. Invest in India, and they're thinking, and I'm looking at least 6, 7, 10 Vedanta to come, because so much of potential of geology we have. Gold, we have a tremendous gold, and I'm looking forward.
Gold has been close to your heart, and we did hear earlier on how you were keen on investing there. What's the scene with that? Yeah,
we have some exploration going on. We produce as a byproduct about 10 ton gold, 12, 15 ton gold we produce as a copper. But it has a tremendous potential. I've said they wanted to shut down the Kolar, and I says, look, simple, just auction it.
I also want to talk about Crane India, because the company is creating a very sharpened focus there. Your investments have been increasing. It has been close to your heart. You have been talking about on how you want to ramp up production on that one. What is happening on that front?
And you'll be surprised, all assets we have got, when literally everybody says there is nothing. And the cane, the reservoirs, they say 2 to 3 years. I can tell you, we are going to last 30, 40 years. And I'm going to produce 50% oil of our country from that field. Lot of passion. I'm very excited when I tell the world that I produce oil at $6. Even the largest oil company open their eyes and say, is it? The cost of production, and we produce sweet crude, sulfur-free. People die for the sulfur-free crude, and we produce. India has one of the largest reserve of oil, 70 billion barrel. And I'm looking.
Scratch the surface of that.
So it's amazing. And again, I'm looking 10 Vedanta to come to produce oil, make a big investment. I'm very bullish. We are producing at the moment about 200,000 barrel. We are looking about 500,000 barrel to be produced in 3 to 4 years time.
The last couple of years, we've seen the steel prices gain up, the zinc prices ran up. We've also seen the iron ore prices holding on the firmer side. What is your sense with the kind of scenario that we are right now in, where infrastructure and protectionism perhaps is a stronger word that is being used? Are we headed for a stronger price movement in the near future?
It's required because these prices are still the cost of production. Whether it's aluminum, whether some of the places in the oil also, the cost was $40, $50. So, and no new exploration is coming. So, I still feel that there is a room of 10 to 15% better price to come up.
Any specific metal where you think is really underpriced, where the prices have a chance of perhaps rising faster?
One is aluminum.
Sure.
Aluminum, copper also. I think copper also have a room. Zinc also should move up. So by and large,
almost everything is going up. I also want to talk about the crude oil prices, and there is so much volatility there. We are holding around 2014 highs. $70 per barrel has been holding for last couple of weeks now. What is your sense on this one? I mean, I understand the geopolitical tensions is one thing, but is the incremental demand also very strong?
The demand is good, but I think this is the top price. I have a
You
feeling.
don't see 80 and 90 kind of levels coming in?
I don't see, and my heart will break unless we start producing more in India.
All right, that's a slice of conversation with Anil Agarwal, where he doesn't expect the crude oil prices to hit $80 or $90 on the higher side, but he is definitely bullish when it comes to the metal prices, expects that sector to gain up by 10 to 15% as we move ahead in the rest of 2018.